Welcome to the MorrowMarriage podcast, guys. And today I want to talk about something that people may or may not understand. Triggered after growth. Now, welcome to the MorrowMarriage podcast. I'm so excited. It's the 100th episode. I want to talk to you today about something that I do with my men in the program. See, most programs, they encourage you not to talk to your partner about them. I'm Cass.
And I'm Kathryn. So I should say thank you because he goes to work every day. And I said, yeah, you don't have to say thanks every day, but you could throw in like, you're so thankful that he brings home a paycheck. You're so thankful that you can get whatever you're getting for the kids for Christmas.
He is just a paycheck. What about his needs? Guys, we are here today. We want to talk about not loving, or I'll say don't love your inner child.
We're MorrowMarriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage. I'm going to be bringing this up today because the other day, even after all the work Kathryn and I have done, she got a little triggered and I got super triggered. That'd be a fair way to put it?
Understatement.
Understatement? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is
I didn't know we were going to talk about this, by the way.
No, you never know.
As I never know.
Yeah.
So this should be good.
I had something else in the schedule, but I thought, I like to be as transparent and real with you guys as we can. And here's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people think that, you start this growth journey and you think that you'll overcome, you'll triumph, and then it's never going to be like perfect. Or sorry, it's always going to be perfect.
I think people, I was actually thinking about this yesterday. People look at our marriage and they idolize us. They want to be like us, that's great. You should, but don't think that just because we've done all of this growth and our marriage is amazing, that we don't still have little upsets along the way.
Of course. And I think that that's really important to understand, because when I was going to use this, talk about the same thing, when you idolize somebody, there's room for letdown, which is one of the reasons why I like to be transparent. Okay. Because that letdown is like the rug being pulled out from underneath you. And then all of a sudden it's going to amplify back in your own home. Okay. And disappointment, right? What you need to understand is I like it like this. It means it's an opportunity to grow. So essentially what happened was, I'll just keep it super simple, but we had a wicked helicopter date. It was awesome. Wine tours with some friends of ours.
Super bougie.
I
have never been on a helicopter before, and our friends picked us up in their Maserati.
Yeah, so it was
like a big day of firsts for me.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then Kathryn, we've been doing a lot to get ready for Texas, so we haven't gone as many dates. Okay, and so Kathryn needed to go out with our friends. They wanted to go. Where'd you got bull riding, right? And then yeah. Then Kathryn was not ready.
I want to be clear, I wasn't riding the bulls.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I was going to make a joke about riding me, but not that night. So essentially, though, Kathryn wanted to stay a little bit longer, and we have these rules for our marriage, and so but she was feeling triggered because I guess to sum it up, maybe you were worried about from years ago when I wouldn't let you go do things and all that. So she's feeling triggered.
Or if I did go do things, he would pretend it was okay, but then it would be absolute mayhem either that night or the next day. Yeah.
And so she said, hey, baby, I just want to tell you I'm triggered. She called me to tell me this, and she wanted to stay out later. And I mean, you're not going to go party,
No.
But she was scared. And at first I handled it like I'm supposed to. Hey, babe, it's all good. Don't worry, And then I don't even know what happened. I got triggered. And
then we're both triggered. You know that crazy train I talk about?
Yeah.
We were both on it. Well, and just like I always say, if your partner is getting on the crazy train, so I was someone getting on the crazy train, I was getting triggered. And so when you're on the crazy train, it doesn't necessarily mean you're crazy. Sometimes some of us get crazy, but if you're getting defensive, you're the one that's on the crazy train. If you're using contempt, you're the one that's on the crazy train. If you're getting triggered, you're the one that's on the crazy train. It's just, what I mean by the crazy train is not craziness. It means that you're outside of the person that you normally are, and you're about to go on a spiral. And any of those characteristics plus a lot more can get you on the crazy train. So me being triggered, I'm the one that's driving the crazy train. And like I always say, the person who gets on the crazy train with the crazy person gets crazier, and you're the one that's now driving it. Yeah, I always say that. If you can stay off of it, you maintain composure. If you get on it and you're the second person that gets on it, the second person that gets on is always worse than the first.
So let's look at what happened. So I jumped on, and just like she describes, always, I ended up driving the train. Okay.
And then it becomes a roller coaster. That's the next step that happens.
That's right. And so now
I'm so good at telling you guys about this, guys, because we have been on it too many times.
So here's what I want you to understand is the first lesson you need to learn today is no matter how much growth you have, things will still happen. Okay. Insecurity is a big one. Just fear of losing again. In this case, this is just something from years ago that just happened to come under Kathryn's skin. Okay. And
the reason it did was because of the rules for marriage that we have, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to find myself in a position where I want to stay out later. And back when we didn't have, these mutual rules in our marriage and for each other, it caused a lot of problems. The problems in the past is what inspired us to put some of these boundaries in. Mm-hmm. So flash forward years later, when something like this never happens, I'm always out with my husband when we believe that we should be together most of the time, because bad things can happen after dark.
After certain times.
When alcohol is involved, all those sorts of things.
Yeah. So essentially, anyways, we're on the crazy train. I want you to understand this, that no matter what, there's something that might creep in on you. And you just have to remember, it's your ability to turn around. Okay. Now, there was no turnaround for me at that moment, but the next day I had a great day. I was just blessed to actually, if I'm being real, I just dove into our lessons on our podcast and reflected a lot, and ended up sending you a note, something about, because my trigger was insecurity. Okay. That's why I brought that one up. And my trigger was fear. That's right. And so I ended up sending a message saying, you have never given me any reason to not be insecure, or sorry, to be insecure. You give me every reason to be secure. And then I kept on learning and reflecting. Why is this important, guys? Because almost always when you're especially if you're just starting your growth journey. Can we remind everybody what a trigger is? Oh, sure. Just in case anybody hasn't heard me say this a million times, if this is your first or second or third or fifth podcast. A trigger is when you believe something is happening that isn't actually happening. Mm-hmm. But in your mind, it's very real, and your body ends up having this physical and emotional manifestation of what could be happening but isn't. So my trigger was, I was afraid. I thought I had to ask my husband if I wanted to stay out later. I thought I wasn't allowed in quotes to stay out later because of things that had happened in our past. Now, we do have boundaries on our marriage that are going to dictate that most of the time we just aren't going to do that. But in this rare instance that I wanted to, I felt like I wasn't allowed. I felt like I was going to get in trouble. I felt like I needed to ask permission, which made me feel like a child. It brought me right back to years ago when that is what happened. Now, it isn't happening to me in the moment. You don't control it when you're triggered. It's something that you believe is happening. For him, because he jumped on the crazy train with me and we got into a little bit of an argument, later that night, his anger came out because he felt like he was going to lose me. So the insecurity of, why does she want to go? Who is she going? He knew who I was with, but that's why it's called a trigger. His mind starts to go, and then all of a sudden I'm leaving him, which I'm not. I'm whatever it was that was going through his mind to cause him to have these other big emotions. And now we both have big emotions, and one of us has to get off the crazy train. Thankfully, I got off of it, and it helped him off. That's right. Yeah. And then this is what happens, though. Most of the time when you're starting your growth journey, you just follow that crazy train. Derailed, you're going in all these other places, especially in the beginning, okay? What you want to do is, like we always say, do what future you would do. So in the moment you're on the train, it's not really possible, okay? But afterwards, you can take the time to reflect. First of all, we had to come together and go, well, duh. And there was still a little bit of heat in the morning, and then actually it was silence. Well, silence. There was no heat in the morning. I don't think either one of us wanted to say anything because we weren't sure where the other person was. Yeah, we're holding. It's important. Sometimes you guys to hold. Yeah. Okay. We got together. It was a little bit of heat, and then I needed the time for me to reflect more. Is really what happened. Okay. And so that's because if you know our story, I have a lot more to work with in my head. Okay. And so big brain. Thanks, baby. So my point is, guys, when this happens to you, don't expect it to be all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. There's still going to be things that will happen naturally. There's literally no reason that Kathryn has to think that I wouldn't, quote unquote, let her go. And there's no reason that he should feel insecure. 100%. I always say I have tunnel vision. I don't see other people. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts. If you do see someone that you feel like is attractive, look away. Shut it down. Be intentional and purposefully look away. And the reality is, I know how secure I am in my relationship. In fact, I've done so much work with insecurity, but Kathryn has also done so much work to secure me, right? Probably a lot more than I think anybody should be expected to do, actually, and help me with my journey. And so when you understand that, you can then go, okay, well, whoa. The same thing we always say, what could I do differently? And we have to come back and bring those reflections, repair, and move forward. But there's a lot more to that. But I wanted to leave you guys with today that it's not always perfect. In the imperfections, though, when we can love each other through that, we can still build and go forward. We can still lift and go higher, because, you know, every time this happens, it's not like it's lots, but when it happens, it allows you to come together. So if you can turn around quicker, that's the goal, is the fastest turnaround time possible. This wasn't our fastest turnaround time, but
it was within 12 hours though.
Yeah, but I like quicker.
You like fast, yeah.
That's because it scares me still. Like,
right.
If I'm worried about me, it scares me, right? From who I am or who I'm capable of being or who I was in the past. So just understand that's your first goal, is to try to turn around, try to reflect, and try to realize you're never gonna be perfect, but just get back to the love that you have. Okay?
I do. So he mentioned something, honey. You said it's more than what someone should be expected to deal with. I want to address that, because a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast are in very difficult relationships. And when I'm in the heat of dealing with whatever he is struggling with, that's how I feel. I'm like, no one should have to do this. This is too much. No one would deal with this. And my mind goes to this place of the grass is greener on the other side, not to another person, but any grass is greener than the grass that I'm sitting on right now, because it's so difficult. And I want to remind all of you that when you're in those moments of, this is more than you think that you should be served, this is more, you signed up for it. And it doesn't mean that it's fair, but when these moments creep up, they will go away. And in the moment, whether it's big or small, it's almost always going to feel like something that you just shouldn't have to deal with, because we're different people. Just like he probably felt the same way. I shouldn't have to deal with a wife. We made these rules. I shouldn't have to deal with a wife that wants to break the rules, that wants to stay out later than we agreed. Well, in the moment, I'm still me and he's still him. So he has to deal with, he's choosing to, I even said when we made up the next day, I said, I'm probably still going to mess up. You married someone who likes to stay out too late and likes to have 1 or 2 more drinks than I should. And that night I happened to not be drinking a lot, but there are times when, you know, if you're out with a bunch of friends and, you know, we've all made that mistake where you just have a couple drinks too many and then you wake up with a headache, whatever it is, even at 41 years old, it still happens. And so recognizing that you are 2 separate people. If your husband struggles with insecurity, I can't expect for him to not be insecure. If your wife struggles with being the life of the party, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that she might make those decisions sometimes and you might feel a little bit insecure. So you always have to work on it, but just remember in the moment, it might be a little more than you think you have to deal with, or it's more than anyone should be expected to deal with. It gets better, and you just need to remember that those moments pass. And
I want to hit that home really hard, because you said something that, just in case anybody missed it, you signed up for this person. And, you know, the reason why insecurity is so hard on me is because it was my entire adult life until I met Kathryn, okay? And childhood life before my adult life that led to this. Well, I'm nowhere near the same time frame. Okay, so that's going to be a challenge. I don't think it's going to take my whole life, because we see how it's improving and getting better. In fact, you complimented me on that the next day, you know. But the reality is, that's the person you married. The baggage was there. The red flags that you don't like right now, that you're feeling entitled to justify yourself for leaving or thinking the grass is greener. But you signed up with that person with those flags in their back pocket. That's just right. How it is.
Often in the front pocket. They're waving them in your face.
Yeah. Very
so
true.
You still get to be yourself. Your husband, your wife still gets to be themselves. And you guys just have to somehow meet in the middle. And when it causes conflict, it's how to deal, like he said, the turnaround time and how you deal with that conflict.
That's right.
To be able to mend the emotional injury.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.